Sometimes people who've never even done one private money loan feel stressed out just by the idea and the thought of doing a private money loan. And the question is is it actually stressful? I mean, you probably have an idea of what I think about this. There's definitely ways to make it low stress, and I believe that private money lending should be a very low stress venture for you, right? So, we're going to talk about the predictability over valuing profit chasing and how that can reduce stress. We'll talk about setting clear expectations up front from the borrower perspective and from the lender perspective and how that can reduce stress. And then just emotional discipline in general, right? So, two things to start. One, when you have a clear system for how you get your leads for your loans, how you do your due diligence, how you collect funding requests, how you underwrite your loans, etc. When you have a clear process for that, that prevents stress. Okay. I know it sounds too simple, but it's really that simple, right? When you understand your criteria, when you understand your process and you have a clear system that works, that is what makes it stress free for you. When you are scrambling every time you get a request because you haven't put any documentation in place, you don't know what to do next, you are just now creating a checklist because a request came in and you don't know where to start, those are the things that create stress and make your body produce that cortisol, and that can make private money lending feel stressful. From the borrower perspective, right? Let's say you as the private lender already have your business set up, you have your system set up, your documentation is clear, your criteria is clear, but it can still be stressful if you're dealing with a borrower who is unclear. Okay, so let's say you have a person who submits a request to you and they have some numbers, but not all the numbers that you need to do your analysis. They have some documentation, but they're really missing a lot of things. They're just now putting together documents like their track record and pulling their operating agreement, and they sending you an unsigned version. And if they don't have organization in their systems and in their processes, that can also create stress for you, right? So, a lot of times when we're working with investors who are seeking private funds, we are providing that education like, look, this is what's going to make this a smooth process for you and the private lender, right? Because it's both people, okay? It goes both ways. They have to have their stuff together, you have to have your stuff together, and then you create something harmoniously. Now, another piece of this is even if you have all your systems in place, you have all your docs set up, you have a clear process, and even if the borrower has the same, there are still some people who are just kind of high strung. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They have low emotional discipline. They are very reactive. One little thing can just throw them totally off, or they're just very anxious, just in general. Okay. So there are those people, and what I will say to you is you have to build your confidence in this space. That is one thing that's going to help reduce some of that anxiety. Building up your knowledge, building up your confidence by underwriting a lot of deals, right? Communicating with a lot of different borrowers, saying no, and understanding why you are saying no to that person, right? These are things that are going to help build your confidence and build your knowledge, continuing your education, attending our educational sessions, watching the replays, coming to office hours. Those are going to be the things that are going to help build your confidence and knowledge and reduce some of that anxiety, right? Another piece of that is, look, so I'm not a therapist, but I've learned some things over the years, and I noticed that people who really struggle with emotional discipline and, anxiety tell themselves certain stories. Okay. So you may be a new private money lender and you came into it scared, right? If you came into this industry scared already, you're going to be putting that energy on everything that you do, right? Because you haven't yet been fully convinced that this is what you should be doing, or that this is safe to do, or this is the right thing to do. Maybe you haven't done your first loan yet and you're just terrified and you're like, I don't even know what's going to happen, right? Even if you did all the things, you have all the education, all the documents, you may just be scared. And that's fine, but the antidote to that is to take action, right? So building up that confidence, building up your knowledge and your skills is going to help reduce some of that anxiety. Another thing is you may just have to do things to regulate your nervous system, okay? When I did my first private money loan, I didn't tell nobody, okay? Now, part of it is because even though I had done the work, I had met with an attorney, got everything together, it was so new to me. It was very unfamiliar, and I felt a little bit foolish for giving up so much money. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what if this goes terribly wrong, right? These are the stories I was telling myself. And I really had to learn some nervous system regulation techniques, right? Really leaning into that meditation. Before it was all foo-fooey to me. And then I was like, I need some breath work, some sound baths, something, because even though it was only a 6 week loan, I was so anxious the whole time. And like even just holding in the secret of what I was doing, that if I messed up, no one could make fun of me. No one can say, well, yeah, you gave all this money to a person and you thought they're gonna pay you back. Dumb. Like, so I just kept it all inside so that I didn't have to face any of that in case it went wrong. Now, of course, it didn't go wrong. So it all worked out. But I had to employ some techniques to keep myself calm throughout that 6 weeks. And then when the loan was finally repaid, I was ecstatic, right? Like all that went away. And then it was like, I spent so much energy being anxious about this process, knowing that I had done the things, knowing that I put things in place to protect myself. Yet I spent all that energy being anxious, right? And then it all worked out. Employing those techniques, educating yourself, building your confidence, and using nervous system regulation techniques like grounding, meditating, breathing, because a lot of times when you're anxious, you're actually not breathing. Okay, something to think about. These are some of the ways that you can keep it low stress, especially in the beginning when you're very new to this and you're just terrified, right? And sometimes people even have a hard time identifying that that is what's happening, that they're actually just scared. Like I meet new lenders who have been thinking about this for a while. They have the capital to deploy, they have the education, the knowledge, they have the documents, the team, and they're just scared, right? And it's hard for them to say like, I haven't done anything because I'm scared. They may say I'm researching, or I'm still looking, or whatever. Like, and it could be that they're still looking, but it could also be that several good possibilities came across their desk and they just could not make a move because they were paralyzed by anxiety. Okay. So there's definitely things you can do to keep this low stress. Your systems and your knowledge are going to help build that confidence and create predictability in the process. That's very regulating. Okay. That's going to help reduce stress. Having those clear expectations up front between you and the borrower, written clear expectations in terms of how we're communicating, what are what's our process in case this happens. You can't predict everything, but you can definitely spend some time thinking about what to do when certain things happen. And then just exercising that emotional discipline. Why are you telling yourself stories about all the negative things that could happen? You can create those negative stories in your mind. You have that same power to turn that around and make positive stories about what may happen. Okay, so this is all up to you. You can go either way. So, as I like to say, just keep calm and lend on.